Good morning and good afternoon to all joining us from across the region and beyond. My name is Lisa Lutz, and I am the SVRI Forum and Partnership Lead based in South Africa. It's wonderful to be here in Bangkok connecting with you. A very warm welcome to our regional dialogue on research, practice, and civil society voices. We are incredibly excited to be bringing the SVRI Forum to Bangkok 5 to 9 October 2026. Today's dialogue is co-organized by the Sexual Violence Research Initiative, UN Women, UNFPA in Asia and the Pacific, under the UN Joint Program on Gender-Based Violence Prevention in Southeast Asia, and the Southeast Asia GBV Prevention platform, also in the room today and online, with support from the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. It's wonderful to have everybody here online and in person. So just before we begin, a few housekeeping notes. Could we maybe go to the next slide? Thank you. So this is a hybrid event taking place here at the UN Convention Center, UN Conference Center, and online via Zoom. The duration is 1 hour and 40 minutes. We will be recording the event and we will be sharing it with participants afterwards. The audience online is muted, but please do introduce yourself and add questions and comments to the chat and to the Q&A box. The event is taking place in English, but there will be live captions available for those online. And just to the agenda, please. Thank you. So just to give you a quick overview of what lies ahead this morning. So we'll begin with opening remarks and then introduction to the SVRI Forum 2026. Followed by a presentation on the regional research agenda. We'll then hear from colleagues across the region in a panel discussion on what the forum has meant to them. And finally, we'll close with next steps and some reflections. So with that, it's my pleasure to invite Kanaid Tanaka, UN Women Asia Pacific Regional Coordination Specialist on Gender-Based Violence Prevention, to open our session and set the scene. So over to you.
Thank you very much, Liesl, for the kind introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from across the world. On behalf of the UN Joint Program on Gender-Based Violence Prevention in Southeast Asia, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome you all, partners, researchers, and practitioners and advocates dedicated to ending violence against women and children. The regional dialogue is jointly convened by the Sexual Violence Research Initiative, SVRI, and the UN Joint Program on Gender-Based Violence Prevention in Southeast Asia. With the generous support of the Australian Government, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. We are so pleased to have Ms. Jane Harris, Ending Gender-Based Violence Advisor from DFAT Canberra, joining us virtually today. We deeply appreciate Australia's long-standing leadership in placing prevention and social norms change at the center of every intervention, program, and partnership we co-create. Together, we wanted to build a shared space for reflection, exchange, and connection, linking those who generate evidence with those who apply it in communities, policies, and programs. Today's event also marks the regional launch of the SVRI Forum 2026 to be held in Bangkok next October. SVRI, as many of you know, has become the global home for research, evidence, and innovation on ending violence against women and children. Together with our new sisterhood, the Southeast Asia GBV Prevention platform, we are so proud to co-host this important moment for this region. We are also pleased to have the platform's regional director, Irene, and her team joining us here virtually and in person today. But this dialogue is actually about much more than the forum launch. It is about strengthening the ecosystem of GBV prevention, connecting research, policy, and practice, and ensuring that the evidence we generate truly reflects the diversity and lived realities of women and children across our region. Prevention has long been at the heart of our collective work through initiatives like Partners for Prevention and now the UN Joint Program. We continue to deepen our understanding of what drives violence, what works to prevent it, and what does not work. Across Southeast Asia, civil society, governments, and academia are testing and scaling innovative and evidence-based approaches from community-led norm change to institution-wide policy reforms. As we begin today's dialogue, let's use this opportunity to exchange insights, learn from previous fantastic SVRI participants, share priorities, and strengthen connections across research, policy, and practice. This space invites civil society, researchers, and practitioners to ensure that regional experiences and diverse voices are reflected in the SVRI Forum 2026. Together, through collaboration and shared learning, we can accelerate progress towards a world free from violence. Thank you very much. And now I am pleased to hand it over to Ms. Liz Dutnell, SVRI Executive Director, to walk you through the SVRI Forum 2026 and the call for abstracts. Over to you, Liz.
Thank you so much, Kane, and thank you everybody online for joining us and in the room. It's so exciting to be here in Bangkok to really talk to you about something that we care deeply about, the SVRI Forum. And what a privilege to be partnering with the GBV Prevention Platform for Southeast Asia, as well as the UN Joint Program of UN Women and UNFPA. It's really, really exciting to be here. But before I talk about the forum, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the SVRI. Next slide, please. So the SVRI was founded in 2003. Thank you. By a real small group of researchers and practitioners and activists that really recognized that there was a deep inequity in how research was being done with very little resources being given to researchers in low and middle income countries, with most of the research resources still sitting in high income countries. So what we at the SVRI have really committed to try and redress that end. And over 20 years later, we have now grown into a global network of over 13,000 members around the world, building and sharing evidence to end violence against women and violence against children. We believe that research capacity everywhere is essential for development. Yet funding, as we know, remains uneven, and often the work being done is not being informed by those closest to the communities in which that research is meant to be serving. So SVRI's work and our work of our partners is really about redressing that and strengthening the space in which people can be amplifying underrepresented voices, promoting equitable partnerships, and influencing change through the evidence that we build together. Because only together can we really address this really complex, wicked problem of violence against women and violence against children. And as I often say, if when we stop counting, we stop seeing. And so it's a real reminder that evidence is not just about data. It's about visibility and accountability. And the SVRI Forum is about when all that comes together, where we get research and practice and partnership, and the field connects globally to really learn, share, and to collaborate. So next slide, please. Let's me talk about the forum. As I said, the forum really is a living expression of our mission to build a stronger, fairer, and more impactful, meaningful field of research on violence against women and violence against children, with an unapologetic focus on low and middle income countries. The SVRI Forum is a 5-day event, and it runs from the 5th to the 9th of October next year in Bangkok at the Grand Centara, or the Centara Grand Convention Centre. And on the first day, we really bring everybody together to access workshops and learning opportunities. We have 23 workshops running on Monday, the 9th of October, which was selected through a very open process. And thank you to everybody that applied to run a workshop, and we're really excited around those offerings. Just to note, to access those workshops, you do need to register and apply online. On the end of the Monday evening, we have an opening and welcome event, and we're working hard with our local co-hosts and partners to work out what that event should look like and help us shape that event. Then from Tuesday to Thursday, we have the opening and closing plenaries, as well as a number of exciting, really wonderful abstract-driven events. And so during that time, we have a number of parallel events, and we have plenary events, dialogic sessions, 4-minute presentations, and poster presentations. We also have participant-driven events that would be held on the Friday, but also woven throughout the week, as well as some really wonderful exhibition hall and stands and opportunities. So those are also open, so don't forget to apply, and that those are highly competitive and the spaces are limited. But the forum is where research, practice, and connection come together. So next slide, please. This slide shows how much the forum has grown since we've had our first forum. And it shows that it continues to grow, not only in size, but both in reach and in diversity. And as Kane spoke about, we really do want diverse and include diverse voices. We want it to be an inclusive space. At every forum, we're seeing more participants from across the world, more languages represented, and more collaborations from different sectors being represented. And from 2020, at 2024 forum, we had over 1,500 participants from 112 countries. And I think SVRI Forum Bangkok 2026 is going to be even more diverse and more exciting. So we look forward to hosting you there. Next slide, please. Our Forum 2026 themes really do reflect the breadth and the depth of the field. These were identified based on what the field was telling us was important, what the evidence was telling us is where we currently need more information and data and learning, but also what you've told us from previous forums, what was important. And the themes range from really understanding those root causes and how to strengthen prevention and response strategies, but to also explore how tech and AI are both ways of addressing and preventing violence, but also ways in which they perpetuate violence. So really to think and dig deep into that. At the forum, we'll also be looking closely at how we can strengthen the science itself through research methods, how to scale up programs, practice-based knowledge, and different forms of knowledge have to be included in these discussions to really understand the complexity and how to address the complexity of this problem. And the heart of all of this is really just one goal: to build a healthy, connective, and ethical evidence ecosystem across the world, to really build better and more evidence-informed programs and practice and policy. Next forum. Next slide, please. Not next forum. So how do we create the forum? How is it convened? It's entirely co-created. We don't do and just make it up as we go along. The themes, the panels, the events emerge from collective priorities, collective discussions with you and with our partners. For example, we have a live survey right now asking your ideas and thoughts on what should be in the plenary sessions. What are the key things that you think you would like to be seeing at the forum? We also have dialogic sessions, which are open platforms, not just abstract-driven panels, where we can dig deeper into particular issues. And please answer the survey. Tell us what you think you want to be looking more deeply at and want to see at the forum. We have equity and justice embedded throughout everything we do, in our ways that we select the speakers, the bursary recipients and winners, visa access. We selected Thailand with great guidance from our co-hosts and partners, but also just getting feedback from the world about which countries they can get access to, depending on what passport they carry. And Thailand was wonderfully open to that, and we're really grateful for that. And also we try to ensure that we have early career researchers included in all of our discussions. We need to be handing the baton over to the new and emerging researchers in the field and continue to be the field. We are a field of survivors, so everything we do is trauma-informed, everything at the forum as well as at the SVRI. We have wellness spaces, counselling and other services woven throughout the event. And we try to make sure, because this work is hard, and because we care so deeply about this work, we try to ensure that joy and wellness and care is woven throughout the event, and that we include art, film, and celebration throughout the 5 days, before and after too, of course. Next slide, please. So one of the key ways that you can get onto the program is through your abstract. This is how you bring your work, perspectives, and ideas into the forum program. The abstracts are a key way of how we shape the program. And this Forum 2026, we're accepting 3 different types of abstracts. One is a research-based abstracts for presenting your new evidence or findings, whether qualitative, quantitative, or mixed methods. We also have program and practice-based abstracts for sharing your programs and ideas of how to implement programs on the ground, your how and what you did, what you learned, and why your program matters. And we also have panel abstracts, which is we've had before, we took away, now we've put back in. And this is an opportunity for you to submit 3 to 5 different abstracts on a shared theme. And these work best, we believe, when they draw on different projects or programs and allow for multiple perspectives to be discussing on a particular topic or issue. We are accepting abstracts in English, Spanish, and French. So the forum really is about creating a global program, a global conversation. It's more than a conference. Next slide, please. We're very open about how abstracts are reviewed. And so they are reviewed against very clear criteria to ensure the process is open, fair, and transparent. Each submission or each abstract is reviewed by at least 2 peer reviewers, and it's a blind peer review, meaning the person that reviews your abstract does not know who the abstract is from, to try and keep it as fair as possible. And so that we're not just selecting people we know and the people that are, so we really want to open the opportunity up to people that often don't get access to these important platforms. So we ask reviewers to assess the relevance of your research or program in terms of how it connects to forum themes, how it addresses a key gap in the field, and contributes to either improving the responses or prevention of violence against women and violence against children, or builds the science of this work. And reviewers will also consider the quality of methods and approaches, ensuring that the research or program is credible, ethical, and grounded in evidence. We want to be building the evidence. So for research-based abstracts, reviewers are going to examine whether the study design, sampling, analysis are appropriate for the research question and whether ethical approval has been gained for the work. For program abstracts, they will look whether or not implementation, monitoring, evaluation processes are clear, whether they are based on a sound theory of change, and whether there is evidence underpinning the program. And they're also assessed for their significance, the so what, in terms of how the findings and lessons from your work is really advancing and building the field. And then finally, how it's moving us forward, especially in low and middle income countries. So please, in your abstract, outline clearly what you are going to be presenting, how it builds and advances the knowledge on this topic, how it influences the forms and informs policy or practice, and how it connects to a forum theme, whether regional, global, or thematic. And Loxie, who's going to be speaking after me, will present the regional research agenda on GBV prevention for Southeast Asia. These criteria reflect our values or rigor, equity, and usefulness to the field. I know my time is up. So just some important dates for you to remember. Submissions close on the 30th of, abstract submissions are now open, so get your abstracts in. They close on the 28th of, the 30th of January, so you have time. We know that early registration closes on the 28th of February next year, 2026. And please get your applications for exhibition booths and participant-driven events. The next slide is I just really love. I just want you to say that, to show what other delegates have said about the forum. It shows that the forum is a nourishing, collaborative, powerful space and the best conference in the world. It also says that you are a public good. So that really does, give us hope that we're doing the right thing for the field. And that's what we want to be. We want to be a collective, open and inclusive space. So next slide, please. So basically the website is available for more information on the forum. So please do join us. Our team is ready to support you with any questions about the program, the registration, the abstracts, logistics. Just reach out to us. This is not an event. We are a movement, and together we can collectively learn how to end violence against women and violence against children. So thank you for making that all possible. So now I'm going to hand over to Luxi Lung, the Director of Research and Evaluation at the Equality Institute, The Equality Institute is a social enterprise based in Melbourne, Australia, working to end violence against women and children. Loxie is going to talk about the shared research agenda for Asia and Pacific region. Thank you, Loxie. Over to you.
Hi, am I audible? Yes, okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Liz, for that introduction. It's lovely to be here in this webinar and to really talk about a conference which I am a huge fan of. I just want to firstly start off by saying, and have been for many years, the SVRI Forum is a conference which the researchers at the Equality Institute, the EQI, the organisation where I work, we consistently return to, and we're just really excited that it's returning to Asia next year. So before we go into this exciting panel discussion, the organisers of today's session felt it would be useful to share this resource, and if we can click over to the next slide if possible. Yes, so this resource here called Filling in the Picture highlights the research priorities on violence against women in the Asia and Pacific region. And as Liz mentioned earlier, when you're thinking about submitting your abstract for the SVRI Forum, have a think about how you may potentially align your abstract to some of the priorities that are flagged here in this resource. And then also broadly, even thinking about your roles, if you are a researcher or somebody who uses research or advocates for research, this is also a useful guide for future planning and thinking and strategizing. Next slide, please. So what is filling in the picture? To start off with, we might have to go a few years back. So 4 years ago, in 2021, if you click through to the next part, it'll bring up the following piece. Thank you. Yes, and then another click. Yes, just bring it all up. I think the animation may have gone out of order. Thank you. So that there is the Global Shared Research Agenda, which is a piece that EQI and SVRI worked on in 2021. The aim of that piece was to really identify priorities for research questions and evidence gaps when it comes to GBV research. And it was a global shared research agenda. What we did was asked basically a huge number of people who work on this topic, whether as practitioners or researchers or others who work in the GBV space, what they saw as the research priorities for the field. It's a tool that supports research planning and fundraising and grant making, investment, monitoring. As you can see, as you can probably imagine, there are so many different priorities when it comes to an emerging evidence space like GBV that it may be sometimes difficult to make a decision as to what to focus on. And even though in the title of this document you have the word research in there, this resource isn't just for researchers, it's also for policymakers, practitioners, and advocates to advocate for prioritization and investment. Next slide, please. So this is where filling in the picture comes in, because what we're really doing in filling in the picture is applying an Asia-Pacific regional lens to the global shared research agenda. We recognize that the global shared research agenda provides us with a powerful research planning and advocacy tool at a global level. However, we also recognize that different regions have different priorities. What may be a priority in Africa or in South America may not be the same priorities or exactly the same priorities as here in the Asia Pacific region when it comes to research and evidence building. So for this reason, we felt it was really important to be able to build something that was specifically for the region. I only really have 10 minutes or so today to introduce this resource, so I can only really do a quick intro. I would really encourage you to have a look at the resource later and the QR code is there if you want to access it. Or we could also potentially maybe drop the link into the webinar chat as well for other people. Next slide, please. Just quickly want to show you the process that we took to build filling in the picture. The whole process was guided by an advisory group, which was represented by 8 experts from across the Asia and Pacific region, and they engaged and guided the process throughout. The primary element of this process of developing filling in the picture was disseminating a priority setting survey. We did this through our networks in the region, and essentially what that was looking to do was invite people who work in this space, researchers, practitioners, people who work in advocacy, invite those people in the Asia Pacific region to rank what the priorities were for them, and also to provide input, guidance, advice on what they saw as the main gaps in the region. The survey was administered in English, but also translated into Bahasa, Chinese, and Thai. And so we managed to get quite a high response rate for that, for this process. The findings were then validated, and then what we found was then disseminated. Next slide, please. So you might be wondering, well, what were the key priorities for the Asia Pacific region when it comes to violence against women? And in the remaining time that I have, I'll just quickly show you or share some of the higher level sort of findings that we came across. Next slide, please. So the global shared research agenda and the one specific to the Asia Pacific region sort of categorized GBV research into 4 main domains, as you can see here. So the domains covered things like, the type of research that aims to, improve existing interventions. So there might be like scale up research or costings research and those kinds of things. The second kind of domain for GBV research covers probably the kind of research that most people think of when they think of GBV research. So the type of research that is seeking to understand GBV in its multiple forms. And those might include things like prevalence studies, trying to find out how common a particular type of violence is within a community or within a country. It could be research that is looking into the risk factors and protective factors for violence against women experience and perpetration, and also the kind of research that looks at the impacts and the consequences of this type of violence. The other remaining 2 domains cover, looking into intervention research. So they're the kinds of studies that maybe are more closely tied to evaluations, process evaluations, impact evaluations. And then the final one is related to methodology and measurement. So as many of you in the room probably know, there's a lot of complexities around conducting GBV research, whether that's related to ethics and safety considerations or measurement gaps and other things related to methodology. If we can jump to the next slide. And maybe we'll see how the animation works here. If you can click through. Oh, yes. Okay, it's one by one. So we've got here the top 5 violence against women research questions that the survey respondents in the Asia Pacific region collectively voted as the highest priority. And this is not to say, as Liz was talking about earlier, it's not to say that if your abstract doesn't cover this, you should rethink your abstract. This is just to give you an idea of some of the priorities and the gaps within the region. So as you can see, the first one there is a question around best practice for ensuring agility and adaptability of GBV interventions, especially those working with marginalized women and girls, and operating in complex context types of interventions. The second question that was ranked high priority for the Asia Pacific region was the kind of research question that would look into the types of interventions that can effectively prevent multiple forms of violence against women and girls. This question was also ranked quite highly in the global context as well when we did the global shared research agenda. So clearly it's an area that people are really interested in and see as a gap. The third research question is, how can large-scale sector programs be adapted to optimize their impact on violence prevention and response, particularly education, health, and economic development, infrastructure, and social protection programs? So clearly the people in the Asia Pacific region were thinking really about how to make change within systems. The fourth question is around methods. So what methods can be used to measure the intersection and pathways between different types of violence, including polyvictimization and intersections between violence against women and violence against children? And the final one was also ranked quite highly in the global context. So what types of interventions are most effective for preventing intimate partner violence against women who face multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination? So women who are also for older women, or women who live in poverty, or women with disabilities, etc. So hopefully that just gives you a general idea of some of the priorities that were identified by the people who responded to the survey in the Asia Pacific region. We'll move to the next slide, which I think is probably one of the final points that I would like to make about filling in the picture. What also came across quite strongly in this process, and what we heard from the people who responded to the survey and contributed to this prioritization activity, was there were very strong cross-cutting themes. So you have there, firstly, a very strong cross-cutting theme of the need to be context specific. So not something that works in one place will not necessarily work exactly the same way in another place. So it's the recognition of that and the need to understand that and build the evidence around that. The other strong cross-cutting theme that emerged was around applying an intersectional lens to our research. So ensuring that our research doesn't just focus on certain types of or certain groups of women and women who are experiencing violence, but also look into the experiences of women who've also faced other types of marginalization and discrimination. And the final point there, which I think Liz also touched on a bit when she was speaking about the SVRI Forum, was ensuring that research links and research doesn't get done and just sit on the shelf, but it is actually used to influence policy and practice and used to influence and improve outcomes for women and girls. Next slide, please. So I hope that's given you a bit of a flavor of what filling in the picture is about, and I hope that's been useful. I will hand over now to Liesl.
Thank you very much, Loxie, and thank you for your clear framing and for connecting it so beautifully to the forum and to our theme. So thank you for that brilliant presentation. So we now move to one of the most anticipated parts of today's dialogue, a conversation with colleagues from across the region on what the forum meant for their work and their collective efforts to end violence. But before we move into the panel, we would love to hear from you, both here in the room and also online. We've got a Menti up on the screen, so you can either use the QR code or the link, and we can maybe put the link in the chat as well, but there's a code. And the question is, what would make the forum most useful for your work? So we would love to know what would make the forum a meaningful and inspiring space for you and your work. So please do let us know. Take a moment, share your thoughts. What we will do is we will move into the discussion in the meantime. So you have some time to think this through, and maybe you get inspired by the discussions going around. And then when we get to the Q&A, we can share the results. So With that, today's discussion will be moderated by Sujata Tulada, UNFPA, Asia and the Pacific Technical Advisor on Gender-Based Violence. Sujata, thank you so much for moderating this session. We always love having you involved. And I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce your panelists. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lizelle. Let's just keep the Mentimeter on for a few minutes because sometimes it does take a few minutes to get the code in, and then we can move to the panel. Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues. It's really a pleasure to have you here in this very special conversation, Voices from the Region, What the Forum Means for Us. And as Liz mentioned earlier, as she spoke about SVRI, we all know that SVRI Forum is so much more than a conference. It's really a space for solidarity. It's a place for learning. It's a place to amplify voices from around the world, but especially for our region, Asia Pacific, where we have some of the highest prevalence rates on gender-based violence. I believe it has also been a safe space for us to have some honest reflections and some learnings about what do we need to do more of? What do we need to do better? And where can we scale up? And how can we scale up some of the things that are working? So it has really, really, really been a very, very important space for Asia Pacific. And we are so thrilled that SVRI is coming to Bangkok back again in the next year. And I would like to also share a little bit about my personal experience. I remember very clearly, very, very vividly, my first SVRI forum many years ago in Cape Town. And my first day feeling extremely overwhelmed in a good way, feeling like, my goodness, I found my community. I found my people. They speak the same language. I don't have to mince word, find different ways to, layperson language. No, everybody understands the same. Everybody's working towards the same goal, same purpose. And it's such an empowering feeling. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. And I truly feel that this is the SVRI effect that is so truly unique. So thank you. Thank you, Liz, and the entire team. We know you put so much effort to making that an experience. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's experienced that every time around. So thank you. So today, colleagues, we have the honor and the privilege of hearing from 5 distinguished speakers who are very well known in their unique perspectives with regards to their research, their academic excellence, their work, but also what they've done in terms of utilizing the space that SVRI provides. Let's move to the next slide, please, and let's get started with this. For those of you in the room, I hope you're comfortable. Those of you online, I know we have over 100 people. I hope you have a nice cup of coffee or tea with you because this is going to be a very exciting conversation. So let's get it started. Okay, so I'm going to start with our first speaker, and I'll introduce you as I start with the question. So first, I'd like to turn to Ms. Tulasa Khadka, who's from Nepal, and she's a researcher and advocate with a breadth of work, working on child sexual exploitation and abuse, and also the intersection in technology and gender norms. Tulasa, very, very welcome to this forum, this conversation today. Thank you so much for joining us from Nepal. You were a recent recipient of the Young Professionals Program Award at the SVRI Forum 2024. So when you take the floor, just help us understand a bit what stood out for you in your participation, whether it's about learning or connections, or any part of that journey. And as we respond, I'm also very conscious that there are quite a few aspiring young professional programs who are probably joining us today, early researchers. Please help us also understand how they can make the most of this space and any insights that you may have. So Lisa, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Sujata, for that lovely introduction and hosting us today. And I would also like to appreciate the organizers for bringing us together to this important conversation. It's such a pleasure to be here and to share a bit of my journey. So yeah, as Sujata mentioned, I was one of the Young Professional Program recipients of the SVRI Forum in 2024. And I'm so grateful for the inspiring experience I've had. It was also my first time. So actually, when I applied for the YPP, it was not simply about attending the forum or, receiving funding to support my travel. Well, that's definitely a great support any young participant could have. But what truly drew me towards the program was the idea of the guided mentorship. Having a shared space where an expert and like an early career researcher could come together and learn, that was what fascinated me. So I was presenting this study on online intimate partner violence among teens and young people in Nepal, which was part of Child SafeNet study. And my mentor at that time was Mr. James Lang. He was a senior GBV specialist at the Asian Development Bank. And I received critical and timely guidance, practical demo sessions, and preparation to face the global audience, which really helped me build up my confidence as well. So like in many low and middle income countries, including Nepal, many early career researchers or practitioners, they work so much in isolation. We know we have the commitment, we know we are doing impactful work, but we often lack the external mentorship or technical guidance, or even chances to be present in international spaces to share our voices. So this forum actually helped bridge those gaps for me. And my mentor actually helped me realize that this small project in Nepal was actually part of a much larger global conversation, but also it could also be very cultural specific. So one advice to the current YPP recipients, so make the most of your mentorship, learn as much as you can, and build those long-term collaborations with them. Yeah, so another thing, well, something that I really didn't expect about being part of this program was the visibility that I got even before taking part in the forum, So by the time I arrived there on the first day, so many of the participants actually recognized us. This actually, it created a sense of belonging and inclusion, and it made conversation or approaching the experts so much easier for me. Because as we all know, I mean, we have all come through being a young person, so it's a real barrier to just go and approach an expert. It could actually feel so intimidating at first. So yeah, don't worry. Even if you are not featured beforehand, I mean, like it's not just the YPP. If you are just part of the program, the forum is already designed in such a way that it is so inclusive. Like from the very first day, the organizers will make you so welcoming. We can create our own working groups. Like for example, we had this early career researchers group. We can have our own thematic groups. It could be technology facilitated, it could be on child marriage. So, we can have our own groups during breakfast and lunch. So you now, trust me, you are not alone anymore on the first day itself. So the organizers, they even plan meetups for young professionals and global experts so that they can come and exchange knowledge. So my small advice to new participant or like to an early career professional would be, if you want to connect with an expert or maybe a university professor, please don't hesitate. You have to reach out early. So during our time, we had this Vovo app, and it was so helpful to plan and request meetings ahead of time. So actually the forum is, it is very transformative in itself. Like, so every room you walk into, it is filled with evidences, best practices, or lessons from different parts of the world. We talk about scaling up of interventions. We talk about comparability of findings across studies. But also we learn that your local, your local context could be very authentic in itself, and your tools and methodologies matters a lot. So it's actually very beautiful to see so many people with a shared interest. So my again suggestion is engage fully. Okay, attend the sessions beyond your own field. even if they sound unfamiliar, or you can just go and introduce yourself to people. Like you can make the best of the informal spaces as well. So one honest reflection it would surely definitely be that, as Sujata said, it could be very overwhelming at times. There's so much happening in every room. You want to be everywhere at once. Like you want to attend sessions, you want to go do networking, you want to prepare your own presentations and workshops, and that one feeling of guilt that you are missing another session that you really wanted to attend. It's very exciting, but also a lot to take in. So that's exactly when the Wellness Space program comes in. So for me, at the SVRI Forum 2024, they had this Wellness Space program where you could actually take care of yourself. It was one of the most thoughtful and unique experience for me, you know. So I've been to many other platforms too, but I've never seen such genuine care for participants, especially since many of us could be survivors, or since we work so much on the domain of violence, it could be very heavy. So the wellness space actually gave us a space to pause. Whether you, if they have, I'm sure they will have it this time also. So you can go to therapy, join a painting, or simply talk to a counselor. You can take care of yourself as well. So lastly, like overall, to those of you thinking about joining the forum, I would say that come with curiosity. You don't need to have it all figured out at once. But what truly matters is that your willingness to listen, to engage with people, to make new friends, and the most important one, please don't hold back to share your work from your own country, especially when we feel that ours is a little bit less than others. That's not true. Our insights, our challenges, and our country's context matters a lot. So make the most of it. Lastly, so for me, the forum was not a one-time event. It is a beginning of a lifelong journey, and I'm very happy to be a part of it. And yeah, please, the best part is that it is happening in Asia this time. So do apply and be part of this amazing community. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tilasa. You can hear the applause here in the room, and I'm sure online as well. Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful reflection. And you really captured the transformative impact of mentorship, but also those nuggets of wisdom for those who might be joining for the first time, truly. And you spoke from the heart. Thank you very much, Tilasa. That was really, really enlightening. Thank you. So just to keep up with the panel, I will now next turn to Miss Ofa Gutenbell-Likiliki. I hope you're here with us. Ofa needs no introduction. She is a prominent women's rights activist and a filmmaker from Tonga, and she's also the co-founder and director of the Women and Children's Crisis Center. Ofa, it is such an honor to have you at this panel. Thank you so much for joining us. We know that the SVRI forums have been very fortunate to benefit from your insights and presence over the last several years and several forums, drawing on your extensive experience and expertise, particularly from the Pacific. If you could share with us, Ofa, if there are specific approaches and strengths and priorities from specifically the Pacific women's rights and feminist movements that you think the global space that the SVRI provides can benefit from, especially as we are now moving ahead to the SVRI 2026. Thank you so much, Ofa. Over to you.
Thank you, and malolele and greetings from Tonga in the Pacific. Very honored to be part of a group of wonderful speakers this afternoon, and thank you for the briefing that we've had earlier on. I guess where I'll start from is the SVRI forums that I've attended. I think my first one was actually online, the Cape Town one. I attended online because of the lockdowns. And the second one was in person in Mexico. So I've found both these experiences as quite transformative learning spaces where ideas, evidence and lived realities have come together. Drawing on my work across Tonga and the wider Pacific through the Women and Children's Crisis Center, our leadership programs, youth mobilization work, child safety activities, national advocacy, community-driven movements, there are several approaches from Pacific women's rights and feminist movements that I believe the global community can genuinely learn from as we look ahead to SVRI Forum 2026. Pacific movements are grounded in collectivism rather than individualism. In our region, change is held by the collective. Women, young people, village leaders, women's groups leaders, chiefs, church groups, and survivors all work. They have to work together because we live in such small communities. The majority of our populations are very small, apart from Papua New Guinea and, of course, New Zealand and Australia. So this is a strategic choice. It's not a cultural ornament. It ensures legitimacy, ownership, and sustainability. At the WCCC, from our Whiwhine Toa leadership work to the Kohaya or Who Am I identity building with boys and young men to the district and national women's whānau, everything is designed to strengthen the collective voice and ensure that no one moves alone. And it also ensures co-accountability. One of the most powerful examples of this is the nationwide women's whānau process that we are currently undertaking in Tonga. Whānau means meeting, so a meeting space of women. We're moving district by district across Tonga, from the grassroots up, bringing women together to speak, prioritize, debate, plan, shape national direction. These funnels are not consultations, they are platforms for leadership. They give space for women who have never ever held a microphone before to articulate their lived experiences, their safety needs, their aspirations for their families and their communities, their villages, and the nation. This model of community-driven feminist organizing is something the global movement can learn from. It is locally rooted, culturally grounded, and politically transformative. In addition to the whānaus, we've had, as of the last count, up to 5,000 women. Half of them are young women between the ages of 18 to 34, because we cut off at 34 in Tonga for young women, have participated in feminist participatory action research linked directly to the whānau. And that gives voice to their top development priorities. We also lead from our cultures, not around our culture. Pacific feminist work does not reject culture, it interrogates it. It unlearns bad practices and strengthens good practices and uses it strategically to move people. Models such as our Apiko Mo'ike Whiwhia Whale, our Inside Out Identity sessions, our storytelling-led prevention work show how cultural grounding can transform behavior change. We do not simply adapt programs to fit culture. Culture is the engine that drives change. And it's like that saying, culture does not make people, people make culture. Another strength is the central role of young people. The Pacific has one of the youngest populations in the world. So they're not beneficiaries, they are co-designers, organizers, and leaders. In our digital safety work with the Tonga Women in ICT, our youth-led online safety campaigns for the 16 days of activism, and even in creative elements such as our dance and hip-hop competitions, young people are the thought leaders shaping safer digital and physical spaces. Pacific feminist work is deeply intersectional in practice, and before the term became a global vocabulary, we work at the collision points of crisis, climate change, economic stress development, and violence. For us in the Pacific, ending violence against women cannot be separated from climate resilience, economic empowerment, health, digital rights, and community safety. Our one-stop approach here at the Women and Children Crisis Centre, combining legal advocacy, psychosocial support, safe houses, helplines, community mobilisation, system-level reform, and community research, reflects this interconnected reality. Another lesson that the global community can learn from the Pacific is our belief that the process is as important as the outcome. We take time for talanoa, for talking, for listening, for relationship building, for nurturing the spaces in between relationships, and for returning to communities again and again. This is not slow work, it is deep work. It creates trust, dignity, and genuine transformation in contexts where change must be relational and not transactional. Finally, Pacific feminist movements have a distinctive approach to speaking truth to power. Whether on electoral reform, women's political leadership, temporary special measures, public enterprise governance, or harmful social norms, we advocate with cultural humility and political courage because we recognize that advocacy is not only policy papers, it is presence, relationships, legitimacy, and consistent engagement over time. So as we look to SVRI Forum 2026, I hope the global community continues to learn from and make spaces for Pacific strengths, leadership that is collective, culture as a catalyst for change, meaningful youth co-design, and intersectional work that reflects the realities of our region. Relationship and relational processes, advocacy that is grounded in both courage and care. The Pacific may be small in population size, but our movements are rich in depth, humanity, and cultural strength. We have much to contribute to global conversations on ending violence, and I hope SVRI 2026 continues to ensure that our region is not spoken for, but speaks for itself. Malo, thank you.
Ofa, thank you so much. Another round of applause for you. It's such a powerful reminder of the importance of community-led and culturally grounded activism, but also the rich wisdom of Pacific feminist movements. Thank you very much. And I know many of us are looking forward to meeting you again in person in Bangkok in 2026 Forum. So thank you very much, Ofa. Really appreciate it. I hope you can stay on the line. We'll have a Q&A, and I'm sure there'll be some questions for you later as well. Thank you. So next, I'll turn to our in-person panelist here. We have Dr. Nian Lin, who's a postdoctoral fellow and a researcher at the College of Public Health in Chulalongkorn University in Thailand. And your work focuses on connecting public health research and real-world social impact. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here in person and love to have a panelist in person with us. Dr. Lim, you attended the recent SVRI Forum as a bursary delegate, and that's a fantastic, fantastic opportunity. How did being part of this forum help you in your journey? What are some of your reflections in this regard? But also, in terms of your research and the conversations that you might have had, the connections and, the collaborations. And also, similar to Tulasa, there might be others joining us today who are also keen to explore similar bursary opportunities. If you have any tips on how they can make the most of this, over to you.
Thank you. So does my voice hear well from online? I think yes. So yes, of course, the forum had a strong and direct impact on my work, leading to real changes in my research, funding, strategy, and networking, importantly. So the first one is the strategy and funding, which is the biggest impact for me. So the forum inspired me to think bigger and act strategically, which has already led to a major step forward. So the important thing for me is to secure the funding, because I was inspired by the impactful research and immediately gather the information on funding, especially from the SVRI Sexual Violence Research Initiative. So as a direct result, my advisor and I developed a significant research project and have applied for the SVRI Research Grant 2026, and we are excited and waiting for the result. So this application is the most exciting and concrete outcome of the forum in 2024. So we are very hopeful about getting it. So the second one is influence on the research approach. So the thing is that the discussions in the forum directly influence the direction and the sophistication of my research. So like I was thinking about a new topic for my research at the time when I was joining the forum in 2024, because the global challenges highlighted in the forum made me realize the need to link my work to major contemporary issues. So I'm now developing a research stream to explore the link between climate change and adverse weather events with violence experiences, I'm still thinking about how to develop the research methodology. And importantly, in the research proposal that I applied for the SVRI grant, we had a focus on violence against women and gender minorities in higher education institutions, particularly within the STEM fields. So because this is the very interesting and important topic, especially in the lower and middle income countries, as mentioned in the research agenda. So this new part is now central to my work. And the advanced methodology. So the high level work I saw in the forum pushed me to improve my statistics as well. So I'm now incorporating more complex methods like the latent class analysis and the structural equation modeling in my violence research, because most of the violence research are, I think, qualitative, but we can also do this kind of advanced statistics that I inspire in the forum. So these are essentials for better understanding the complex causes and the nature of the violence that we are looking for. And the third one, and the important one, is the collaboration, confidence, and network, because in the COVID-19 pandemic situation, we have to drive online and it limits our networking, right? But after the COVID pandemic era, we could back to the on-site, and that kind of big forum is a very good chance for us to join in person, to have a networking with the world-leading top universities globally, not only with the practitioners, but also the researchers and academia from the different institutions. Yeah, I really satisfied about it. Yeah, so the forum provide the connections and self-assurance I need. For the new collaborations, the connections I made were vital with the top leading university that I might not have a frequent chance. I got that kind of chance in the forum. So I was actively collaborated with many researchers, like for example, a researcher to apply the latent class analysis method from, I forgot the name of the university, maybe I think London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and I could have a conversation with another practitioner about how our emerging findings on violence, especially at the time my research was among the migrants, could be linked to inform the policies on the ground. And another thing is confidence on my role, because I did a poster presentation, and then many of the participants had an interest on my poster, on my work, and I could explain more detail so that I could engage with the global leaders, which gave me a huge boost in confidence. Yeah, I am on my right track and I can keep forward. So it confirmed my expertise and made me much more comfortable to lead the research, more impactful and more advanced research in the future, and to pursue the ambitious grants. So I think these are all about my, opinions and answer according to your questions. And thank you all again for this good opportunity, making me express my gratitude to the SVRI Grant 2024 as a bursary recipient. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nian. I think you really captured the experience of many of us, in terms of the comprehensive experience of SVRI. And thank you also for sharing this very unique and critical role that SVRI plays in terms of supporting early career researchers with more established institutions, and also how it's been useful for you. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that. And I'm sure there'll be more questions for you as well in the Q&A. So with this, I will move to our next speaker, and we are joined online by Helen Tanielu, who's a senior lecturer in sociology at the National University of Samoa with extensive research experience on violence in Samoa as well as in the Pacific. Helen, welcome, and thank you for joining us today in this panel. Helen, as someone who has presented your research at the previous SVRI forums, would love to hear your experience about being part of the forum as a researcher, what has stayed with you, how it's influenced your work, and also your engagement, in the wider research area. But also, if you have any reflections as we are, preparing for the next SVRI 2026 on how this forum can be made even more meaningful for researchers and practitioners. Over to you, Helen.
Thank you. Thank you, Sujata, for that. Tala Falava, can you hear me? I think, okay. Tala
Very
Falava, Loli Soifua. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this panel. Just quickly acknowledging Professor Geneviève Manel from the University College of London, whose research project, Ending Violence in the Extreme, of which I'm a part of in Samoa, which gave me the opportunity to present in the SVRI Forum 2024 and UN Women for the Bursary sponsor. Thank you. So being part of SVRI 2024 was really eye-opening for me and overwhelming at the same time, having traveled several thousand miles and over 3 continents to get to Cape Town. So it certainly was an experience, several hours on the plane. But being part of this forum and conference, like the others who have spoken before me, was a really wonderful experience for me. Being a first-time goer to the conference, so I learned a lot. I was able to take away things that can help my research work, the networking and raising my own research profile in the GBV and walk space in Samoa and the Pacific. So firstly, it just opened up a number of opportunities that I was able to network with others. To collaborate in research and potential research, like a consultancy company in America, for example, they asked to include me in a proposal for a project right after our Professor Manel and I's presentation. She had asked if I could be included in a proposal, so I was really happy with that. So, and other networks I made as well. So these networks continue to be an important aspect of the work we do. And being an Indigenous Pacific Oceanic academic and researcher living in Samoa and the Pacific, I think this aspect of being a Pacific person, being involved in research is crucially important. It did include my own visibility as well as I was recognized in this capacity. Also, SVRI allowed me to see the wealth of research and work that is done by many people around the world that could help in some way in the work we do here in Samoa and the Pacific. So the breadth of the conference itself was so immense. And I think, like Tulasha had said earlier, sometimes I'd go to one, and felt bad because I couldn't learn from another presentation or another workshop. So, and it has certainly opened up my own view and connections to further expand my own understanding of ways to engage a global audience in the research we are doing in Samoa and the Pacific, other than publications that we do. Another aspect of the conference was the immense passion that I saw in everyone who attended that reflected my own passion for the work within the GBV VAWG space. And the extent this network has been able to incorporate all regions, like middle and low income, around the world. So especially the work being done in various countries in Africa, Asia, and South America, I feel some aspects could also be done in the Pacific, but within the context of Oceania, of course. So I came back with many ideas on how I can utilize my experience and learnings for future research opportunities and within the civil society space in Samoa, who in Samoa are the only ones who actually provide continuous support and services to survivors and victims of gender-based violence and violence against women and girls. So, who I work closely with. So the context in Samoa and Pacific is different from around the world, but the experiences of a woman facing violence in Samoa, for example, is similar to those in South Africa, Indonesia, or even Chile. So we just have different contexts culturally and socially that set us apart. So I realized that as Samoans and Pacific, we need to show that we also face similar issues, but contextually different and work towards ending this. And as Ofa has said, we're a very collective society. We're very family oriented. I realized that there really were not many research being presented based on the experience of women and girls and GBV in general from the Pacific and Oceania. I think Professor Manel and I presented on Samoa. There was one other, I think, that I noticed, but it never, it wasn't presented finally. I think they weren't able to present in the last minute. I might have missed one, Liesl, and if maybe I missed one that was from the Pacific, but I think there were only two. And I think this is an important part of getting involved more in utilizing opportunities to further our own capacity as Pacific and Samoan researchers and workers at this forum. So it was a great experience for me to realize this and determined to try and get more involved in presenting the work we do, whether it be research or civil society work at SVRI. So the work being done by various groups on the intersection of gender violence and technology really stood out for me at SVRI 2024. Due to the changing nature of our own experiences in Samoa and the Pacific and the various media platforms that many young girls here in Samoa are a part of. And we have over 80%, 86% of people in Samoa, our population, that own a phone, a mobile phone. So we're very, we have a high population that have access to media platforms. And in terms of visibility as a researcher, I think the very aspect of attending SVRI gave me more visibility. I presented on a research project at a major forum, for example, the first time, mind you, that I had presented some form of my collaborative research on GBV and walk at an international conference. So, and it contributed to my expertise in this area and credibility as a gender-based violence specialist in Samoa. I'm one of a handful of researchers in Samoa that research on this area. So very rarely there's a tendency to be afraid to get into the gender-based violence space in Samoa. So there's certainly room to move in that area. So the conference had numerous opportunities and spaces for participants to take part in, and I thought that was wonderful. Reflecting going forward to SVRI Forum 2026, just a couple of thoughts. Probably more opportunities for Pacific Oceania-based researchers, civil society workers, and others involved in our work in the Samoa and the Pacific to take part in SVRI 2026 and future conferences, so as to be exposed and experience all the wonderful work that is being done in the space through SVRI. So enhancing accessibility and inclusion for us in the Pacific as well. If possible, even just a short workshop-like session for Pacific, even a virtual one for discussions amongst people in our region. So this ensures that it's contextual and we're not simply case studies, and we can speak on experiences in the Pacific by Pacific people. We are a small population with many different islands, but we do have some of the highest prevalence rates of GBV in the world as well. So we're trying to work, and also, trying to work towards ending that, especially for our practitioners and emerging researchers as well. So I feel that it just opens up opportunities that could possibly further research that would be wonderful in ending violence against women and girls in the Pacific. So yeah, I wonder if there's a possibility, I'm not sure whether I saw one, but decolonizing GBV research in terms of what it actually looks like, because I think, and I'm only saying this because due to our own colonial legacy in the Pacific, that has significantly impacted how our women are viewed and the roles they have. So we're still decolonizing, as I'm sure most other regions, middle and low income in the world are. Yeah, but there's sometimes we're laden with ending violence projects that on the surface do not really work for us in the long term. But because there is so much funding that are connected to it, it's accepted by our governments and our region. So in 2024 SVRI, there was not a lot of research into climate change as well, which I noticed. I think Professor Manel and I was one of the climate change research presentations. I think, yeah, there were only a few of us in that in that session. So correct me if I'm wrong. But so those are just some thoughts from my end. Overall, I found the experience of being part of SVRI a wonderful one, and what I learned, networking, and just the global exposure that we could do for our own work in Samoa and the Pacific. So I wish SVRI 2026 well, and SVRI generally with your preparations for 2026. All the best as it prepares for the conference and forum and coming up. So hopefully we have our abstract ready in time and hopefully it gets accepted. But that's it from me. So for my
Thank you so much, Helen. Your insights have really reminded us, how vital it is to have the Pacific research and Pacific voices, that they remain visible. And we're really hoping that bringing SVRI to Bangkok would enable a bit more of that. You'll have fewer kilometers to travel, hopefully, and also more of a space to really showcase the valuable research that you're doing in the Pacific. And I also take note of some other topics that you've mentioned, which we might touch upon in the Q&A. Thank you very much, Helen. So finally, and very excitedly, I don't know if that's even a word, but I am very excited to invite Preetha Chatterjee, who's the lead for global positioning at Breakthrough, was working across national and global alliances to advance feminist intersectional approaches to ending gender-based violence. Preetha, wonderful to have you here in the panel. Thank you so much for joining. Preetha, Breakthrough has been a long-standing representative in the SVRI Forum. You're representing strong feminist civil society voices from the region and globally. Building on that experience, as we move closer towards the SVRI 2026 Forum, if you have any reflections for us in terms of how we can further strengthen the collaboration between civil society and researchers. Over to you, Preetha. I would love to hear from you.
Thank you, Sujata. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Apologies, I have a very sore throat today because of the pollution havoc in Delhi. But am I audible, Sujata, otherwise?
Very clear.
Okay, thank you. And this conversation ahead of the SVRI Forum 2026 in Bangkok is very much timely and much needed. So on behalf of Breakthrough and the Asia Network to End GBV, I would like to congratulate the SVRI team for taking this bold step to host the forum in Bangkok. And like my previous panelists shared, this was very much needed. Just want to mention here that given one of the SVRI's priorities is promoting partnerships, I believe that the Forum 2026 is best placed to bridge the gap between practitioners and researchers from the Asia region and from the other regions as well, of course. And this has been a gap a gap and a hurdle in the pathway of feminist research and studies. So I look at the forum for bridging this gap and making connections between practitioners and researchers in the upcoming forum. Just as a context, I want to mention that SVRI in the past has engaged with the CSO members from across the Asia region and members of the Asia Network to End GBV before the Cape Town Forum in 2023. And this webinar was organized by SVRI along with UN Women Regional Office Asia Pacific. And many of us got an opportunity to input into the abstract submission process and the abstract review form, which meant that, the form and the submission process was catered, keeping in mind the different contexts and the different realities that exist across the world. And that was really wonderful to have. In the interest of time, I would just make key 3 points around how SVRI can further strengthen the collaboration between civil society and researchers. I think the forum is uniquely placed to encourage research projects and presentations which are designed collaboratively by both researchers and CSOs. And this would mean that both practitioners and CSOs will be and should be involved in shaping not just the research questions, the methodology and objectives, but also see how the research can be applicable across contexts in the true spirit of co-creation and ownership of that research piece. Also, when you involve practitioners working at the grassroots and with the communities, it kind of ensures that the research piece is relevant and is informed by the needs and priorities of the local community. And as CSO working out of the South Asia region, I can see a lot of value and merit in having a collaborative way of undertaking a research project. Secondly, I think, like Elizabeth mentioned during her presentation, there are skill strengthening workshops which are parked in the first day of the forum. And I remember in the Cape Town one, there was almost 20 workshops that were planned in day one, and all were excellent. And
Sorry, Prita, we've lost audio. Just give us a minute. Could we try again, Prita? We can't hear you at
yeah,
the moment.
hi, am I
You're
audible?
back. You're back. Yes.
Should
We're
I
talking
switch
about
off my
the
video if that
pre-conference.
helps?
I think we're perfectly fine at the moment.
Okay.
Let's continue.
Right, right. So I was making the point around the capacity building workshops and the skill strengthening workshops that SVRI organizes on day one of the forum. I remember the Cape Town one had 20 such events on day one, and all of them were very, very relevant and very, very resourceful. I wanted to propose if there is a possibility of organizing such capacity building workshops also online, and if the in-person ones, sometimes the paid registration fees can be a little bit of a hurdle for grassroots CSOs and activists to join in. So if that can be considered. And the other point is that CSOs from the Asia region do also have a lot of insights and learnings to offer from the work they are doing on gender-based violence, on SRHR, etc. And if there's a way, there's an interactive learning time and space given for such experiences and amplification of learnings from the region, that will also strengthen the capacities of the CSOs from the region around research methods, data analysis, evidence building, etc. My final point, and as many of you may know, that Breakthrough works with young people and communities to make a change in the gender norms that kind of manifests into gender-based violence and sexual violence. And we believe that the forum can showcase evidence and practices that have actually worked to shift the harmful gender norms. And, in our way of working, many a times we have come across conversations that, gender norms are fuzzy, it's difficult to shift gender norms, they are very persistent, they are very difficult to measure. And I think the forum is very uniquely placed to bring around from around the globe and from the Asia region experiences and actually interventions that have worked on ground to shift the harmful gender norms and prove a point that yes, shifting gender norms is difficult. It is perhaps a little bit of time taking, but it is possible. And there are possible ways of measuring how gender norm change takes place across different contexts, and how it is a reality that if you work for a longer time with communities and with survivors, this is a shift that can be made possible, and real outcomes can be gained in real timelines. I also would believe that the forum is an opportunity to center the lived experiences and narratives of the community from Asia. And I know there is a vast knowledge existing out there which can also inform the academic discourse in a very meaningful way. Finally, I look forward to the SVRI Forum 2026 in Bangkok to understand more about feminist and decolonized methods of generating evidence, data, collaboration opportunities, and of course, a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prita. A big round of applause to you as well. And thank you for those, there's a wealth of knowledge and advice, but also some very practical actions for the next SVRI Forum 2026 to be really, really meaningful to the civil society activists and practitioners to make the most of it. Thank you very much. I know all of us have been, vigorously taking notes, and I'm sure we'll see some of those in action as well. Thank you very much, colleagues. With that, can I just invite everybody in the room and online, if you can, with your virtual hands, to give a big round of applause to our panelists, Tulasa, Ofa, Nian, Helen, and Prita. Thank you very much for your wisdom, for your honesty, and for your passion. We now have a bit of time for question and answer. We have some colleagues here in the room. We'd love to hear from you if you have any reflections. I also know there are a few questions online, but you can also, raise your virtual hand and share your questions directly to the link here. Okay. Yes. So we see there are a couple of questions. So maybe I'll just start with a question from Janatul Firdos. And she says, and you say, my organization Voices and Views conducted several situation analysis studies to know the human rights situation of burn survivor women in Bangladesh. We're not a research organization. Can we do further research on this subject? Would Liz or Liza like to take this?
Thank you so much for the question, and the answer is of course. So, I just want to reflect on some of the really wonderful discussions that we've had about the sort of the ideas of how to strengthen and improve the forum, and just going back to this question around doing research on the subjects that you see as important for your communities and the situations that you are living in and seeing every day. So please do continue to, write your proposals, submit your proposals, but also to ensure that those gaps that have been identified, the program at the forum is based on the abstracts that we receive. So we really strongly encourage you to be submitting your abstracts because we are guided by what you are doing and what you want to be seeing on the program. So please do submit your abstracts. With the questions around the regional workshops and online workshops or pre-conference workshops, from Prita, thank you so much. They're really great ideas. We are starting that already. We had so many wonderful applications for workshops. We couldn't accept all of them because we are limited by space and resources. So we're trying to set up a series of online workshops in advance of Forum 2026. So look out for information on that through our updates, through social media, through our partner websites, and so on. And we will be sharing those as we are moving forward. Liesl is sharing some links around some of the issues that I think, Helen, you raised up around decolonizing, what's going on in the world around that. There are some resources out there, but if there is a space or an idea, the forum is your space. So if you want to be hosting workshops, webinars, thoughts, ideas, use lunch spaces. We try to ensure that the forum program provides a lot of space outside of the abstract-driven program for people to have meetings, side events, discussions. Some of the greatest ideas and the production of publications, etc., have come out of informal lunch meetings. How do we address the ethics of doing research in small communities, like you were speaking about in Samoa, in Tonga? How we do that ethically. One of those came out of an informal lunch meeting that was held, I think, in Brazil many, many years ago, and some work has come out of that. So your research ideas are so important, and use the forum as an opportunity to meet other people doing the similar type of work, make those networks, those collaborations, have those meetings. As you were saying, yeah, use those spaces as much as you can. And Talasha was speaking about, reach out to the folk that you read about. They are there. And we hope that they are very kind and wonderful. We are sure they're kind and wonderful people, are interested to hear ideas. So use this space. It is your space. I think that maybe hopefully answered some of the questions. Thank you. Great questions, great discussion.
Thank you.
Well moderated. Oh.
I think you might want to keep your mic on because there are quite a few other questions, and I think they're directed towards the SVRI team. So we have a question from the Philippines, and it's really about the local government and government service workers' accountability and duties, and how they can be located in the main questions, and I think perhaps also in the themes of the SVRI. There's also another question here from the Pacific Sexual and Gender Diversity Network, and who are sharing about their work. And they're big fans of SVRI. They've been following SVRI's incredible work, and they'd love to explore opportunities for collaboration and participation, particularly around joining or connecting to the SVRI Global Network, participating in the next forum, and collaborating on research. Could you advise on the best ways to engage?
No, thank you so much. Brilliant questions around the sort of governance, accountability, the roles of local government and national governments around the world, and regional unions are so important around ensuring systems change. And I think Loxi spoke about that in the research agenda priorities around, I think particularly in the region, one of the priorities was how do we integrate IPV prevention or GBV work or violence against children, child sexual violence programs into large infrastructural projects or government systems. And that's where you're central. We can't do this work without governments. You are absolutely important for ensuring that we can scale up evidence-based, evidence-informed programs and practice. And you're a fundamental partner in this work. And at the SVRI, and I know that our local partners and co-hosts are also working very hard with government partners to really work out how to ensure that the work being done is evidence-based and evidence-informed, and that we are working and learning together. So you're essential and central to many of those research questions that were identified within the research priorities. With regards to the opportunities and participating within the networks, and we have a number of community of practices running within the SVRI, one on tech facilitated gender-based violence. Over 800, 900 people are in that network. If you want to join, just email us, svri@svri.org, and we can link you up with the folk that are running those. We have a really powerful, wonderful one on the role of faith in responding and preventing gender-based violence in the Africa region, but we would love to see that expanded out. And that was something that, you know, we had a little bit of funding for and sort of have given that to the folk running that network. And that's expanded, and we have multiple faiths, multiple sectors engaging on the role of faith in we have also one on gender-based violence in higher education institutions. So they're growing and learning, and we are wanting to create more communities of practice led by folks from regions within countries to really be expanding knowledge and learning and sharing amongst ourselves. So if you've got ideas, please reach out. We're happy to work out ways in which we might be able to actualize those. And then follow us on social media, follow our partners on social media, reach out to us and join the SVRI update and email us, reach out to us. I'm not sure if I've missed any of the questions. Did I? Thank you.
I think you
Lisa, did you
did.
want to add something?
Yes.
So yes, we've just had Prita who's asked about the online workshops, and we have recently thought through all of these wonderful proposals that we've received and not having all the space at the forum. So we have been talking to some partners around this, and I think today in the SVRI update, the first one will go out. So there won't be 3-hour workshops like at the forum, but they'll be more in the form of a learning event. So the first one that will be coming up is in December, and that will be UN Spotlight talking about their model around grassroots M&E. So we will definitely share that as well. I've also put in the chat that we've got on the 20th of November, we've got an abstract writing workshop coming up, and that will be an hour. We will be recording that, but we will think through these workshops as they come up to also make sure that they are across time zones, because we do acknowledge that we do sit in South Africa, and sometimes there is a time zone issue. So yes, that's coming up, Prita. So we'll keep you updated on all of that. We'll have one on climate change in January and another launch. So yes, lots coming up over the next year.
And just one more thing to add, I think it went out yesterday in the update, just a call for fellowships. We've got some small pockets of funding to support doctoral and postdoctoral researchers. And so please look at that call and apply. Thank you.
Super exciting. SVRI is like the gift that keeps on giving. So thank you very much. There are a few other questions as well in the Q&A section, which our colleagues are helping to answer in the Q&A section as well. In the meantime, I'm very curious to see what you've put in the Menti, that question that was projected before. So if I can ask our colleagues to project for us what we've heard so far. Can we make it big? Oh, yes. Okay. What would make the forum most useful for your work? Global connection, innovation, application of research and ideas, solutions. That's a big ask. Diversity, representation, movement building, yes. Including LGBTIQ issues, needs and concerns, dedicated space to help transform research into practice and policy. Yeah, I'm not a researcher, but I'd love to join. I think, as you've said, Liz, everybody's welcome. Networking opportunities. I'm not going to read all of them right now. I'm very, very happy to see so many inputs. Thank you, colleagues, for taking the space. I know the SVRI team here, as well as us as co-hosts, we take all of this very, very seriously. And we will make sure that as much as possible, we can deliver on these asks. That I see fun, which I think is guaranteed, as the previous forums would tell you. But I thank you so much for sharing all of this. The Menti is still open? It's still open, so if there are other insightful thoughts that you have as you've been listening to the fantastic panelists that we had so far, please do keep on adding to this forum. The code is at the top of the slide, and we'll be really taking note of all of this. Thank you very much. Before I bring this to a close, I know, Liz, there are quite a few questions that have come your way, but I just wanted to ask you if there's any final reflections that you want to share from what you've heard from the panelists as well as the questions.
I just want to really thank everybody for their really insightful ideas, their generosity and time for being with us and just sharing what you're looking for, but also how we can, we will look as, we would look at these very thoughtfully and together work out how we can address them and give you feedback. So thank you. And it's been really insightful and super fun to be part of this regional dialogue. And I look forward to having more. And I'm going to hand back to you. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Liz. I think truly today's conversation really reminds us that SVRI Forum is not just about presenting research. It's not just about being a conference, but it's really a space for connection, for solidarity, for amplification, and it's really about a shared purpose. And also what we've heard from the speakers today, it's also about building bridges, between disciplines, between generations, and between regions. So we're really looking forward. I know it's a lot of tall order that we have collected through both the aspirations as well as the reflections from the panelists and those of you who've joined online. I know we had over 100 people join at certain stage. Thank you very much. That really shows how well you're loved, SVRI Forum, but also how much of a need there is for a space like this. So thank you for filling that very important gap. I really hope we can keep this, spirit alive as we move forward in preparation of the 2026 forum. We continue to learn from each other, amplifying diverse voices and co-creating knowledge. And as Lizzle has been diligently putting, there are lots of opportunities and there are specific links and sites to all of that. But please do go to the SVRI Forum 2026 website, which has a lot of that information. So with that, colleagues, I'd like to turn to our wonderful colleague at the Australian Government Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Jane Harris, Ending Gender-Based Violence Advisor, who's been a steadfast supporter of all these initiatives. Jane, would love to hear your reflections and your closing remarks. Over to you, Jane.
Thank you, Sujata, and thank you, SVRI and the UN Joint Programme on Gender-Based Violence Prevention in Southeast Asia for hosting this informative event today. Today's discussion really provided an opportunity for us all to hear about the valuable research and evidence that's being undertaken in the region, to share research perspectives and priorities and consider regional needs and experiences. It's also really provided opportunity to support collaboration across the region on the ending GBV research that's happening across the community, and hear opportunities on how we can all engage in the lead up to the forum in Bangkok next year, including through submitting abstracts by the 30th of January 2026, responding to the survey that is open now, joining in future webinars like today's, and staying connected with the forum to receive future updates. I also wanted to thank Loxi Lung at the Equality Institute for presenting on the shared research agenda for Asia and the Pacific region. Filling in the picture, research priorities on violence against women in Asia and the Pacific region is really a valuable resource for addressing evidence gaps and deepening our knowledge on preventing gender-based violence in the region. So thank you so much for explaining that and sharing that with us today, Loxi. And also a special thank you to all of our panelists, to Tallulah Asi at Kadzi, I apologize, Tallulah, Tallulah Kadka, and Ofa Gutenbell Liki, Nyan Lin, Helen Tanilu, and Preeta Chatterjee. The insights and the knowledge and the experiences you have all shared today are just really appreciated. It's through dialogues such as these that we can explore regional priorities to effectively build the evidence on what works to prevent, respond to, and end sexual and gender-based violence in all of its forms. We heard from each of you a number of key things. that collaboration and knowledge exchange is essential to growing and applying evidence for effective ending gender-based violence prevention and practice, including that drawing on broader ending gender-based violence research outside of one's particular area of practice is really key to supporting a deeper understanding across ending GBV space. We also heard that there's a need to strengthen collaboration between researchers and practitioners, particularly across civil society, and that this is what we need to improve our evidence-based practice and improve the capturing of regional specific evidence on what works to prevent and respond to and end gender-based violence. We also had the privilege of hearing about the rich knowledge and valuable lessons from community and women's right-led approaches to ending GBV practice in the Pacific, including on intersectionality and climate change, participatory action research, youth leadership, and many more. Importantly, discussions such as this and the upcoming forum are going to provide opportunities to share and learn from each other, particularly regionally led voices, on these types of lessons and this evidence, and the need for us to bring and connect the regional research on ending GBV to the global stage and improve our practice and our evidence at the local, country and regional levels was also shared. So thank you all for sharing this with us today. It was just such a valuable and rich discussion. An important message we also heard is about the critical need for comprehensive research, data and evidence to inform effective ending GBV policies, programming and advocacy. Living free from violence is a fundamental human right, yet far too many women and girls are experiencing violence every single day. Across our region, sexual and gender-based violence rates remain high, with 30 to 60% of women in most countries across the Asia Pacific having experienced physical and sexual violence during their lifetime. Dialogues such as today's and collaborative evidence sharing events such as the upcoming forum provide are really important in enabling each of us, civil society, academics, researchers, the UN, governments and practitioners, to come together to identify, build, share and apply evidence in the ending sexual and gender-based violence space. Australia's International Gender Equality Strategy reaffirms the centrality of our commitment to ending gender-based violence and to advancing gender equality and advancing human rights of women and girls. Delivering on this commitment, we are supporting regional and bilateral programs to respond to, address and prevent GBV in the Indo-Pacific region, as well as building the evidence on what works to end this violence. For example, you've heard today about the $20 million Southeast Asia Gender-Based Violence Prevention Platform, which responds to demand from the region to improve coordinated and collaborative efforts to advance the primary prevention of gender-based violence through evidence-based advocacy, dialogue, policy and programming. You've also heard about the UN Joint Program on Gender-Based Violence Prevention in Southeast Asia, which has co-hosted today's event, a partnership of UNFPA and UN Women, which is complementing and supporting the platform to deepen the use of evidence to inform prevention approaches across policy programs and practice. It's these programs that are collaborating with the SVRI Forum to support evidence building and knowledge exchange on GBV prevention across the region, recognising that it's through forums such as these that effective evidence-based practice is built as practitioners and researchers are connected to share and learn together. Because research, evidence and data are critical to ensuring that comprehensive approaches to ending all forms of sexual and gender-based violence are required. Thank you again for joining us and have a great day. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Jane, and thank you so much for your thoughtful reflections. So yes, just thank you again to all of our speakers, partners, participants. Thank you, Sujata, for holding your panel with so much care. Really appreciate that. On screen, you will see a very short survey. So if you have some time, just to give some feedback to help us improve and inform our future events for UNJP and the SVRI, Please do remember to submit your abstracts. The program is shaped by what we received, as Liz said, so we really want your voices heard. We look forward to continuing these conversations and welcoming you all to Forum 2026. And until then, thank you, stay safe, and keep connected.